Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I'm sharing an unboxing unlike any that I have ever shared before. And the beauty of this unboxing is that I owe it to all of you. My subscribers, my friends, my family, my wife, even Ruin Barkley. Without all of you, this simply wouldn't be possible. This channel began back in 2009, based purely on passion. And today, here in 2023, it still runs purely on passion. Passion for technology, innovation, and I love what I do. I really don't think that I could be more fortunate in life. And again, all of you, this community on YouTube, you are the reason that I have this appreciation for the world, frankly. Now, there are content creators from days past that certainly inspired me to do what I do today. That first upload comparing 3 phones back in 2009. Those of you who've wondered why you're looking at the hood of a classic car, well, hopefully there are just as many of you who have realized why. And that's because this was my first background, the original background for the Digital Digest. An image I took at MoMA in Manhattan, that's in New York City, around 2008 or 2009. And, I just really set out at that time with, again, inspiration from content creators like Steve Payne and JKK Mobile, who covered specifically ultra-mobile PCs, which to me was just absolutely the bleeding edge of technology back then, and the future, which of course I think smartphones have proven, and even the return of ultra mobile PCs also validate. That was just a time where your imagination could run wild about what could be in technology. And of course back then this was all pre-iPhone, pre-iPad, pre-legitimate smartphones for the most part. And that is why I started with smartphones, tablets, as well as, of course, cameras, laptops, pretty much anything that inspired me. And I felt these products weren't necessarily being covered in a way that I thought was realistic. Because even back then, much of YouTube was an advertisement. You were not watching authentic user reviews. And today, I would argue you still aren't, unfortunately. In fact, it's much worse, but I digress. So, glad I still had this because, after all, a lot of my things were destroyed by Hurricane Matthew. So I'm glad this was in storage and that I still had it as a memento. And I never knew that I would use it for a video like this today, but I am very happy that I am. So here is my silver play button. It arrived just recently, and I'm very excited to open it. Apparently, someone at the carrier that delivered it already decided to go to work. Thanks. But I will tell you that the UPS driver that delivered it to me was an absolute star, and I wish that I had asked for his consent to share the recording from my Nest doorbell, because he congratulated me, and of course we don't know each other, even though I do live in a place where you know a lot of the locals, including, again, UPS and FedEx guys. The turnover rate's been pretty high. But he knew what this was because YouTube ships it like this, or I should say the company YouTube contracts ships it like this. Of course, I did remove the labels with my address. And the other thing I wanted to communicate to all of you is how much this really means to me in light of what I'm about to go through. So this isn't just a milestone for the channel and for me personally, and in my opinion for all of you who've been here for the journey. Even if you've just recently joined, you're still on the journey, friends. But I'm 2 days away from life-changing major surgery. A little redundant, but it'll never be redundant enough for me. And while I'm ready for the challenge before me, and in fact, I've been going through this challenge already for over a year since I was severely injured in a car accident. There could be no better time to be reminded of, what I do here and the value of it to all of you, and how much, of course, that reflection means to me as well. And this surgery that I'm going to have is going to take me away from YouTube for a while. I don't know exactly how long. I know what I've been told by doctors, but they're not really taking into account what I do, that I, use my voice and my hands, something that both of which are going to be compromised, but hopefully will return to me. I have confidence, and I'm not going to get into the surgery here in this video. This is about the Creator Award that I'm about to open, but I still think it's really important for all of you that actually do care to know that I haven't vanished. I still will have content and reviews, but they will likely have been pre-recorded because, again, I'm just not going to be able to do what I want. And that is a poignant thing when we're discussing an award like this, which is, as I've been discussing with all of you, is all about doing what you want in life, the beauty of that. And now here, that is temporarily going to be taken away. But of course, it all leads to me coming back. And I just didn't want any of you to wonder, certainly think I had died or anything like that. Retired, not at retirement age, I can assure you, not yet. And my passion and drive is not just as vigorous as it was back in '09, but I think it's far greater. Because I have so much more access now and relationships than, of course, I did when this all began organically, and still it thrives organically today. Now, the last year I mentioned has been an immense challenge because when I got injured in that accident, I really couldn't do anything for months. And this was all right before our wedding. And I'm not going to even get into my thoughts on my wife because this video is not about that, but it's just in life as you go through that journey and you begin to understand and appreciate things in a way that maybe you had never imagined. And I think that's the moral of my story. This year, as I've stated, has been incredibly hard. I have not been able to produce reviews like I historically would. In fact, I really haven't. And I think many of you are aware of that even though I've tried really hard to continue to put out quality content that I think is quality content that delivers what I would want to hear from someone reviewing products, and that's always been my goal. When you don't have the ability to use your body in a traditional way, borderline, disabled, that is incredibly hard. And so again, that's why having this come at the time it did really couldn't have been better. One chapter closes, another opens. I could get into all sorts of cliches here, or it's really a door, right? But that's not what today is about. It is still about all of you and me reminding you how much I care and making sure that you know that I am not going anywhere. And over the course of this year, part of this challenge was that I didn't really want to share what had happened to me with a lot of, the PR managers I work with, long-standing relationships and new alike, because it's simply not professional. But when you're getting things for review and you simply can't do the work, things become even more difficult. So it's been a challenge I really never could have expected. In fact, before that car accident, my health was perfect. We were several months away from our wedding, and everything was as good as it could ever be in life. And so this also, I guess, serves as a reminder that you need to appreciate what you have. And if you don't, it's time to reassess. It's time for you to really think deeply about what you have and whether or not you realize its value, or maybe, you are in a bad spot. I'm not here to tell everyone that what they have is fantastic, but I am here to say that life is short, and I know you've heard that before. Won't be the first time, certainly won't be the last, but take it from me, It is. And the moment you lose sight of that, you lose sight of everything. And through the course of this year, another thing that I learned, an important lesson in life, is all about not just realizing those things and the value, but also knowing who is there for you. And that's part of the reason I thought it was clear and a very good thing to be sharing this at this time with all of you, because, well, frankly, I otherwise, what would I be doing with myself right now? This is an appreciation of all of you, and you are the one group I haven't thanked through this process. Even though I've made mention that I'm going through stuff, I've never really discussed it at length, and so now you all have a little bit more insight. So again, this couldn't have happened at a better time for me, and even though, it took a long time, I wasn't sure that this was going to happen before my surgery, and I'm just glad that it did. So hopefully you haven't grown bored of what I had to say here, but let's open this up and finally take a look. And again, I can't break that seal, but let's see, there was not a seal on the bottom that was ripped off. But again, I'm just happy to be able to finally get this thing open. And all of my content on the channel, for those of you that don't know this, is always unscripted. Very little editing, and today is no different. This was all from my heart. I certainly thought about this before doing the video. That's why you have, my original background. I tried to find as many old relics of my electronics collection that didn't get destroyed in hurricane fallout, since I seem to attract hurricanes wherever I go, whether it was Sandy back in New York, Matthew here. Those were the two biggies for me in terms of really affecting my life and the trajectory, and even some of that's on the channel. If you go back to the Sandy days, you'll see in Jersey what I was filming. It's on the channel. I remember back then news agencies contacting me to see if I would give them rights to that. And it's like I can continue to say, it's been a great journey. So the first thing is a business card from Society Awards, which is who handles this. Basically just letting me know who inspected it, and I can reach out to them. And then the next is the boilerplate letter, but it still means a great deal to me, from YouTube's CEO. And, it's not something I expected. I know a lot of people come out here and do these videos, the Creator Award videos, and they talk about how they wondered when they'd hit it. I really didn't. I mean, of course I wanted that to happen, but that was never the driving goal here. And that should be clear because, well, I've been doing it a really long time, and if this was my only goal, I probably would have stopped a long time ago. But there it is. And I have to say, as someone who has seen the active evolution of all of the play buttons, I know they've downgraded. But it doesn't matter. I don't care. The original was an amazing thing. This is still an amazing thing, but it's not amazing because of what YouTube has done with the design. It's amazing simply because it is a plaque that represents the labor of love that exists here, and especially the last year. Again, the hardest challenge I've ever faced, and I've faced a lot. I have. I'm not bragging. I don't wish it on anyone. But I have faced a lot, and it means, again, I've said it probably 10 or 20 times. I have no idea, nor am I keeping count, but it means more than any of you will know that I now can hopefully hang this up before I leave for my surgery. And look, hopefully the channel continues to grow, and sooner or later I've got that gold play button to share with all of you. I'm not going to necessarily shoot much higher than that, because if we stay on this same trajectory, I will likely be 100 years old by then. I'm only kidding, but you never know. Either way, as I've said throughout this whole video, I am content, and that is something that all of you should really try to work towards. It's in your hands more than you know it. That's all I'm going to say, and hopefully I've made that clear. On the back of this, we've got some mounting points, a little fabric, but yeah, I remember the days when this play button was dynamically different, essentially a framed actual play button. Now it's a laser cut thing. Still very cool. What else do we have in here? Wouldn't be a world without some form of silica gel or dehumidifying chemicals. And then, or is that really just to prevent mold? You know what I'm saying. See, I'm having trouble as usual. Oh, man. I'll pick it up. Don't worry. And then I want to wrap up. They're saying recognize your team, and that is a smart thing to do, but you're talking to the team, folks. Granted, my wife is the first person I've ever allowed into the circle. All the more reason that she holds a really important piece of my heart and my existence in this business. But there are no other team members. For those of you that ever wondered, I am the digest. And that's the way I think things do go well in this world. I think when you start to form a team, like a lot of these channels, I totally understand it's a business, so no one needs to school me on that. But things do often turn into tumultuous stuff that maybe you would have been better suited to never have, transitioned into that capacity, if you will. And I know things are a little blown out here, but I can see if I can mask that a little bit. That doesn't seem to be helping, but I know what will. Let's just kill this light right now. Darker, but more appropriate in terms of being able to see this clearly, but maybe a little too dark. So, some mementos that I wanted to share with all of you. When I first started the channel, I actually was using this Sony camcorder right here. This is the first HD digital, fully digital video camera that I ever had. And this was part of the promise of what I wanted to do with my channel. This is the TG1. And actually, I think I'm going to put the light back on. A little too dark. And part of what my goal was when this began was to, again, I mentioned some of the people that inspired me, like the Ultra Mobile PC guys, JKK. And what I saw was that they were covering things honestly with a genuine interest that other YouTubers weren't necessarily doing that. And today we look at a lot of channels, content creators that are, I feel like they are literal ads. And they like to use the word honest or honestly, in all honesty. That's a red flag for me. I'm not saying it's always a sign that people are lying, but generally, if you're not a liar, you don't need to tell people you're not a liar. Again, I'm not saying these are all liars, and I'm certainly not naming names, but we do live in a much more controversial realm of YouTube than we did once upon a time. So those people that inspired me, I lived on DP Review, for those of you that are wondering. GSM Arena, back in the day, was a great resource for me. A lot of these people are gone, but a lot of them still are around and doing this, or they've just, they've gotten older and they're focused on their family. I totally get that. But part of what I thought I could bring, besides my brain, was better audio and video quality than a lot of my peers. Because a lot of those channels that I loved had potato quality. It's not a knock against them. Again, they inspired me to get here. They deserve all of the credit for that. And, eventually I transitioned from that camera to another great Sony camera. And Sony's one of my longest standing relationships, this guy right here, which actually got destroyed, Hurricane Matthew, and then I purchased another one because, well, it's just a phenomenal piece of hardware. Still is today. That's the beauty of this piece of kit. And then as time passed, of course, I moved to the FX3 I'm filming on now, and it's just amazing how far we've come. When it comes to my interest in digital cameras, Another one of my favorites that goes way back is this guy right here, the RX-1. 2012, if my memory serves. And really just, this was another camera, unfortunately destroyed by Hurricane Matthew when my house got, well, nearly leveled. But my office certainly did, the studio. And it was another one I repurchased. And this was my first full-frame digital camera, and I still love it. I'm not saying that it gets the use that I think it should, but at this point in its life, I would not sell it for, I mean, the resale value is atrocious, and it's still an amazing camera with an amazing lens that can beat even some modern new gear, maybe not in the autofocus department, but it couldn't even back then in the autofocus department. I tried to find my original Droid, Moto Droid, that really was the game changer that led to, I feel like, the landscape we have today. A lot of people like to credit the iPhone with that, but I'll tell you right now, the iPhone raised the bar for phones and smartphones. But what Google did with that first, Droid with Motorola, I really feel was a benchmark. It changed my life. I mean, having, the digital assistant along with Google Maps and navigation integrated into a phone was unlike anything. And even back then, it made the iPhone seem a little pathetic. And, Apple continues to have inferior navigation, but that's besides the point. I could not find that phone. And so either it did get destroyed, or it's somewhere in storage that I'm never going to find it at this point. So I gave up. But I did locate this guy. And this, wasn't that far after that first video with the 3 phones. So I thought that was a pretty, a good addition to this video to share that I'm just glad I still had. I'm not going to try to power it on because it's not going to boot. It's not charged up. Some other goodies that I have that I think some of you will appreciate, some of the older viewers and then even younger viewers that want to do a little searching. My first pocketable digital camera. And you can still purchase these. I'm not saying you should. Of course, the Pentax Optio S, 3.2 megapixels, and its claim to fame that it could fit inside of an Altoids tin. And this is actually the original Altoids tin that I carried it in back, in the early 2000s when I purchased it. And the proof is, if you may have noticed, the Altoids are made in Great Britain. Now, Altoids have not been made in the UK, at least the ones distributed here in the States, since, I think, around 2005. So there you have it. Caloric information I don't think has changed, but still have it, which is pretty cool. And then my upgrade from that camera was this guy right here, a Sony. And this really began my love affair, I think, with Sony pocketables. And yeah, it had the largest display, some of the best image quality of its time. And I went through multiple Sony pocketable cameras, but this is the one that I feel really began it all. The N1 was just a dynamo at the time, at least in my opinion. And then, there are other things, such as I don't have my first Note, but I do have the second gen Note right here that I was able to locate. And of course I have many it's not a tech museum here, but whatever I've got left that wasn't destroyed, and this is another one. And I would bet money this one still powers on. But again, not something I charged up for this video, but something I did want to share. And then I've also got here that I wanted to share with all of you, the first Android tablet, first tablet ever to have an OLED, really an AMOLED display. So this was a Toshiba product, 7.7-inch display. I remember I first saw it at CES in 2012. And I knew from the moment I saw it that I was going to want to purchase one. Gorgeous display, really far ahead of its time. I miss these days when we had so many manufacturers making so many compelling products. Now there are a handful, not even a handful of manufacturers, and then it's just random China. And yeah, I do yearn for those days again, and who knows, maybe they will return, because this was an amazing tablet at its time and far better than anything Apple was making. But of course, no one knew about it really, because this was not advertised for, And again, the powers that be in the tech review world, I'm not going to say they were on the take, but it was business as usual. This was also powered by an NVIDIA chip, for those of you who might be wondering. And then the first product that I've ever purchased that had an OLED was this guy right here. And yes, I even still have the retail packaging. The iRiver Clicks, a company that no longer exists, but as you can see, an AMOLED display. This little guy was, in my opinion, far better than any iPod Nano, and just so cute, so well designed. Came out of South Korea. You can see that good old micro USB port, mini USB port. I misspoke. And just great design. I think 8 gigs of internal storage, a user interface unlike anything else on the market, and I just wish iRiver would have stuck with it. I went through a few other products after this, but this is literally the first to ever have an OLED display. And it looks like it's even cracking up a little bit on my Creator Award. So let's get that off. And there are more products I could share with all of you from the past, but I feel like that's a good time capsule from where this all began and a good preview of where things are going. So, again, I thank all of you for sticking with me, joining me in the last year. It doesn't really matter. I mean, of course, those of you who've been here from the beginning, you do have a special place in my heart. Some of you I know by name, others I do not, but I still look forward to your comments and communicating with you on a regular basis. It is a relationship, a dynamic that is unlike any other on earth. And without YouTube, and again, without all of you, it can't happen. So I hope that I continue to educate, entertain, and help all of you find the electronics that are right for you, that you will use in good health and feel good about your purchases. I'm one of the biggest problems in life when it comes to consumer culture is buyer's remorse. It's something that I hate, have no interest in, and I rarely use the word hate, and I try to make sure none of you will experience that as well. It's very difficult to do that, but I'm never going to stop trying, as bizarre as that may sound. And I've got a lot of days ahead of me, but again, I'm not sure when I'll be back to share more with all of you that will be new. But as long as my contacts in the industry stay true to me, I will honor that stay true to them, and of course to all of you as well. And it's going to be rough, as I said earlier. And if any of you, do want or are curious about what's going on in greater detail, I'll likely end up posting content about it, but I'm not sure it's going to end up here on the channel. It'll probably be on another outlet that is not obviously about tech, because what I'm about to go through is not about tech. Only my inability to continue to cover the tech is valid, and that's why I shared it with all of you. Again, didn't want you to think that I was going anywhere, because I'm not. But that pretty much is all that I had to say today, beyond a heartfelt thank you. And I look forward to creating more and more content for all of you. I'm well over 2,000 videos, and I, again, have no intention of stopping. And that's why even with this surgery, I know that my brain will still want to go, but of course my body is not going to be able to follow suit. And as long as, again, the contacts I have in the industry stick with me, I'm going to be here for all of you. And even if they don't, I'm going to be here, because that's the way I've done this from day one. It was never with any outside investors. It was never with any assistance from literally anyone. This has always been driven organically by me and myself alone. And that's the way it will continue to go. So hopefully you all are ready to stick with me through the journey, and it's going to be fun. Challenging, but fun. I assure you of that. I've always had a sense of humor. It's not going anywhere. And again, this means so much to me. It's hard for me to put it into words, even though I always have something to say. as many of you know, even today, you have no idea how many times I've started and stopped this video because I'm trying to communicate as clearly and concisely what I feel, and that's much more difficult than reviewing a piece of electronics. It's actually quite the opposite in many ways. So again, I appreciate you more than you know, and couldn't have done it without any of you. And I look forward to seeing all of you in many more videos, and hopefully one day, as I mentioned, if the next award comes, so be it. If not, I'm still going to be here turning out the videos as long as I can physically and mentally do it. So no worries on that. And more reviews will be coming. I've got a lot of laptops I still have to button up, and hopefully, sooner or later I'm going to be able to get to that. And as long as, companies still want to send stuff my way, I'm going to do my best to cover it and make sure that all of you know what is worth investing your money in, your hard-earned money, so that you'll enjoy that next best product of kind. But that's it, folks. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. Hit that like button. And as usual, please feel free to subscribe. And please stay safe. Later.